Cheers to the start of the By My Merch podcast. I am joined by Fiona and Celeste of two fantastic projects, Cherryland and Desperate Housewives, H-A-U-S. Ladies, welcome.
How are you? We're here.
We're here. Where are we? We're at the Mint.
We're at the Mint. Yep.
We are in a booth here. You're getting to join our little conversation over drinks. Lucky you. Hey everyone, Marilyn here. I just wanted to let you know that we had a bit of an audio issue with this episode, so you're going to be listening to a cleaned up version of our room mic instead of the two directional mics that you see us talking into. But it was such a great conversation that I still wanted to share it, so I hope you enjoy. So excited to have you guys here, and I just want to start by asking how you both met.
We met in 2017.
Yes.
I was playing with a band called FRENSHIP and touring with them. And we were playing at Shuba's
In Chicago.
and Fiona was opening.
Yes. Yes. I was opening. I was wearing Anna Stella assless gold chaps. And I was really giving. And I freaked out Celeste, and
She didn't freak me out, but I mean, we became, we got coffee after.
we got coffee
So
after,
I
and she
did-
could see that I
Yes,
didn't.
that we hang out.
Yeah, you did. That's true. And honestly, I get like emotional thinking about how if I didn't like go up to FRENSHIP and be like, I want to open for this show, how different my life would be. So
different.
thank you.
She said that the first words.
FRENSHIP.
Yeah, she was a FRENSHIP.
Oh my God, you're gonna embarrass me. Or what did I
The first
say?
thing she said to me, maybe one of the first things Fiona ever said to me was, "You should come to my party at Cheetah's, the strip club, while wearing assless chaps." So, yeah.
On brand.
The rest was history.
Yeah.
With you two. Well, I've had the pleasure to also see your super creative home zone, aka the house that you are living in. I just want to ask, because to me it really feels like a bonus character in the universes of all that you both do. What does this house and having a shared creative space mean to you guys?
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
look
It
for it.
is a creative space. Right now, it's like a tornado space, but but it is creative.
Oh, it's great. No, you're right. It is almost a character in that universe, or it's like the home base for sure.
I still kind of call it the Valley Doll House.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Fiona lived there before me, but we've obviously it has changed and evolved so much.
We now have our Cherryland headquarters in the downstairs. It's just one stair down.
Only one stair down.
So
The magical
downstairs.
rainbow chandelier.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of really fun little things from both of us in there.
And we like bringing, we have a really beautiful big backyard, and getting to bring other creatives to our house has been really fun, just to kind of cultivate that community again at our own little home.
It's funny because it's such a great home base for that, and it's a funny, I mean, this is maybe a long-winded answer, but it's funny because it's also one of those things which I think just comes from working from home and remote working, and we can all relate, where you also then don't check out necessarily,
Yeah.
but because it's this creative space, I'm okay, now I can move on to this bizarro art project thing that I have to do for someone, and I'll sit in the living room making flowers after working.
Yeah. Celeste is really good at forcing stop work walks, which is necessary when you're working.
In the neighborhood.
Yes.
Just kind of
Yeah.
hanging out, taking a break.
Yeah.
I love it. Does the house have a name?
Well, yeah, I call it the Valley Doll House.
So the Valley Doll House, and that's just it being in the valley.
No.
Well, it's part of it.
Yeah, I guess. So I had a little music festival that I used to do out of the backyard called Valley Doll Festival, and the name pretty much came. I was getting my internet put into the house, and they told me that I needed to make an internet house network name, and I just really I loved the movie Valley of the Dolls, and I'm a Valley girl. And so I just quickly said Valley Doll, but then it just kind of took on a name of its own and an identity of its own when the festival happened. And I don't know, I feel like it fits the house. So, and it's in the valley. So,
Why did you initially want to start any kind of a joint creative project together? Cherryland, Desperate Housewives, you've done a lot. You've helped each other's solo projects. What drew you guys creatively to work together in so many ways?
I mean, we didn't for a long time.
yeah, we really didn't. We kept those worlds kind of separate. Up until a year ago.
Well, it's funny because Desperate Housewives, we kind of joked around about that during the pandemic, Like we wrote Hot for Mike during pandemic. It was the only one that we did at that time. But I think that both of our projects together, Cherryland and Desperate Housewives, are really informed by our friendship and our relationship. And I'm sure there will be some questions and conversation that get into this as well. But I think that our friendship is weirdly confusing to a lot of people, even though we're just really good friends.
Really good friends.
But I think that it was like it just kind of got to a point where we were like, whoa, why aren't we doing something together?
Also, it was never forced. Like, one of the things that I love the most, and I feel so secure in Cherryland and so secure in Desperate Housewives, is we put in 5 years of learning communication skills. We put 5 years in having disagreements and resolving them and learning how to speak to each other. And so when we naturally have these conversations of with our solo projects being like, oh, I just want an outlet of like fucking around. And within our businesses, like, I'm so sick of doing this alone. It naturally evolved into these two businesses with the foundation of so much like trust and communication work. So
Yeah. And now we've got 2 major projects from you both right now. I'm sure that could evolve even in the future time here. But I want to ask about start with Desperate Housewives.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming obviously a reference to Desperate Housewives, the show.
yeah, not the Real Housewives
Do you get that a lot?
all the time.
Do you guys watch Housewives?
With the Desperate Housewives, yes. The Real Housewives, no.
No.
I have no hate on the Real Housewives.
That's not
That's not
The actual reference is and this is off
Very
the air
much
now,
so.
right? It's like
Yeah. Oh yeah.
it's
It's
such
off there for a while.
No, it's
like-
not.
such a phenomenon, but it's a punk sound. It's something very punk.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask, because you both have very successful independent solo projects, when you were coming together, like, okay, let's start a band or a project, how did we land on a punk sound?
Because Desperate Housewives is punk as fuck.
It's so punk. It's like accidentally killing your husband and like burying bodies with your best friends. Like,
Yeah.
that's punk. Plot lines in that show are so like, if we started making like an acoustic singer-songwriter version, it has to be silly because the whole show is silly. So the music has to be that way.
And there's also like a pent up rage
Yeah.
of like the suburban housewife.
Mm-hmm.
And so you guys felt, and it's a need that also hasn't been filled yet, like an all-female Desperate Housewives inspired.
Yeah, because
I don't know if anyone's
also,
thinking that they
can
made it,
I
but
say something? We didn't look at each other and say, we're gonna start a punk band. We just wrote a song, and it was a punk song, and we said, this is fun to write. Let's write more.
Well, it wasn't even like we wrote the song and it wasn't even, let's make this sound a little more talker or a little bit more Fiona Grey. But no.
no.
It was like, this is whatever comes out is what this project is.
Yeah. And I mean, we love bits. So
we love
we were like binge watching Desperate Housewives during COVID.
Also, we sing a lot around the house.
And we sing a lot around the house. And we were like, we should write a song based on like this kooky episode because it's so insane. And like, what a hilarious thing.
Well, because I have you in the literal hot seat and my hot seat is squeaking over here.
I know mine too with my
You're recording.
I'm farting.
We are recording in a real music venue, so we're letting all these sounds fly. But I wanted to have you guys come clean a little bit, like at the safe space table, about the pros and cons of being in a band.
Well, wait, more than that. Okay, we are best friends who have a business together and a band together and live together. And we have learned, and I think that everything I say you'll agree with, we have learned, and we're also like, we enjoy spending a lot of time together. We have learned how that is just like straight up too much at times. And that we both have to prioritize like hanging out with different people or like having space, because no matter who you're with, if it's a partner or a best friend or a parent or anyone, you need space from them.
Totally.
And we like early days, like especially early days with Cherryland, we were used to having separate work days and then coming back and hanging out together.
Even if we were both working from home, we'd be like in our own rooms or
Yeah.
bubbles. Exactly.
and we weren't in each other's business. Like, and now like that we are, it's hard. And but we I think like honestly, looking at like where we were in February to now, I'm really proud of like the ways in which, and those walks are helpful. Like the worst thing I think that you can do as a partner, if it be romantic or if it be a best friend or business partner, is like not say the thing that you're thinking. And our walks gave us opportunity to be like, hey, this is how that made me feel. Or like, hey, I kind of need you to do X, Y, or Z. And so it didn't harbor.
Yeah. No, exactly. And like I think ultimately there are so many more pros. Otherwise,
Yeah.
wouldn't be doing it. It's just really
Oh,
fun.
sorry. I didn't touch on the pro. There's
No,
many
no,
pros.
no.
Yeah.
I just like I think that it is objectively really fun to be in a band and in the business with your best friend. And we, we just, I mean, for the Desperate Housewives side of things, I mean, because that project is fun, we just have fun.
Yeah.
Like, it's a simple answer, but it really is. And for Cherryland, not only is it fun, but we just are able to like collaborate. And, that is so powerful.
We just came back from a work trip and we're doing more trips, which I know we'll get into more Cherryland stuff, but we like got to be out of town and do a full work day and help each other out. Like, hey, I'll capture this while you load the van, or like be partners in that way. And then at the end, we got to like go to a hot sprayos or like get a drink together. It was the perfect balance of like, oh, this is, imagine like being alone. I would have not had as much fun as at all. So many pros.
Many pros.
Yeah.
There were pros in there too.
No, I think it's important
She's like,
because
I've got to bring
no, but I think it's important because we have for some reason so many people who have so many questions about our relationship. They either don't understand it or they think like we get along all the time. And honestly, we do get along really well and we love each other so much. But like anybody in any relationship, like we have
It's like very much like a sister
yeah.
relationship. You're gonna bicker or have things that you butt heads on, but you know that at the core, you both want to communicate through those things and like care.
Yeah. So I just think those are the most relatable things, are like the knowing that like good communication equals great results.
What are some of the logistical guardrails that you guys might put into place to, this can be things like setting up an LLC or just having these conversations. What does some of that dirty work look like as again, like a best friend duo experience who realizes, I want to protect our friendship, so let's make sure we keep the legal things and the business things sound.
Yeah, I mean, we have an LLC formed for Cherryland specifically, and a lawyer who helped us draft up a contract with that, where there are, like what he calls like the divorce agreement, right? If like in a business, but it's funny because, yeah, we just kind of go in knowing that it's a funny thing because I don't know, I guess anything can happen, but like even if something fell apart or wasn't working at the end, or somebody just genuinely was like, I kind of want to move on to a new chapter or something, because we have so much communication under our belts, I think, we have like the legal protections of like, okay, here's just what that would look like. But because we've already discussed that and all these things, like, I don't worry about it being unamicable or anything. And I guess ultimately, if it were, those legal protections are in place, but it just kind of like,
I would never get into business with anybody that I wouldn't like. That's why I didn't have a band with anybody or didn't have a company with anybody, is like I would literally put my life in Celeste's hands, no questions asked.
Yeah.
And I think she would say the same about me. And I know that we didn't jump into this business without really thinking through it. And also there's like in our modern society, like we've talked about like, would be nice. Maybe we'll like have a therapist that we go to every once in a while, just a business therapist, because there are things that are just like, maybe we'll feel more comfortable. And we're both people who go to therapy and like are comfortable talking about our feelings. So
yeah, I mean, I do think that formalizing those agreements, whether you're going to make it an official LLC or you just get some sort of thing in writing. I think that is crucial.
And sign it. Like, even if there's nobody there except your two signatures, have those conversations, make it official. Talk about all the worst case scenarios.
Yeah.
Like, talk about what happens with this. Like, we really did sit and go through all of the bad things that could happen.
You should see our like notebook of like what are all the different like financial structures that this
Yeah.
got to and like all these different things, right? So
Yeah, we had to figure that out too because we were forming an LLC and we wanted to make sure that like we have a lot of separate businesses on our own, but we wanted to make sure our books were really clean. Um, and I'm really proud of like it took us a while to form our LLC, but we really did it the right way. And the other thing that I would say if you're thinking of like starting a business with your best friend is like sit and journal the the ways in which you can the ways in which they accept information. Like make sure that you understand how to best communicate to them and maybe like go on a long trip with them. Like do something before you do the business where you're like in some situations where you're experiencing each other as friends outside of just like getting drinks and hanging out in easy like, ways. Challenge the
Your
friendship.
business is so different too. Like I think it's interesting you guys came from a best friend perspective because you almost and I definitely want to talk about Cherryland too, but it's almost like you guys were doing similar work before and being friends and then realizing we're coming home having these conversations. Why wouldn't we just like I can help you with that project, you can help me. Is that how Cherryland basically came to be?
100%. Yeah, also, we both have marketing businesses for 10 years, and it's such a lonely career because so much of what you are doing is making decisions and having creative brainstorms alone. And we both hit a point where we were needing each other to like brainstorm through things. And it was fun. Like when we did it together, it was like, oh, I'm enjoying doing this.
Yeah.
What would it look like if we did more of that?
And tell me what kind of services Cherryland offers. Cherryland, by the way, is their marketing agency, which just launched.
Yeah,
Cheers. It just launched a couple months ago, right?
yeah.
So tell me after the sip. I want to know, and you know me, I like to know the details of like what are the types of packages and things Cherryland will give you as a client.
yeah. So I'll start with like the very like nice, easy overview and then we can get
Yeah, Marilyn
into
in
the
post
weeds.
can put the map right
Yeah,
there.
The details. I'm all about the dirty sassy details of business.
So like officially the way we have it structured is that there are 5 like basic services that can be
Think of it like a Candyland map when she's
we're in Cherryland.
A Cherryland.
Cherryland,
Yeah.
But there's like 5 like starting points basically and people can kind of combine or whatever, it's like very tailored to like any individual person. But there's brand tune-ups, which pretty self-explanatory, but really like working with someone on like leaning into their brand story and their brand message and then how that is coming across visually, not only in socials, but just like overview of everything that they're working on. If it's an artist, that might be their look as a whole, their photos, their music videos, things like that. If it's a brand, it might just be overall like how is that message coming across, all of that type of thing. We've got project management, which
We kind of were falling into project management with some of our social clients, and then we were like, we enjoy like we're type A girls, like we like the structure and the plan, and project management is whatever the project is. If it's an album rollout, if it's a business launching a new item, it's how do we take that from the pre-production pre-release to the post-launch and make sure all the other team members are staying on track and we're staying on track to have everything we need
I mean, I'm sure you've seen it too. A lot of people have, it can be hard to get to the finish line.
Project management is possibly one of the most requested things. Having any marketing conversation. Is I love all your ideas. Are you gonna bring it to life? Is that blue? You take that.
But even with project management, that there are other packages where we might bring things to life. In project management, we're making sure everything is staying on track. And if we have, we a lot of times we'll do that with a brand tune-up we're also making sure that everything is staying not only on track, but also in line with who the artist is and how they want to be presented. Um, so that's our second
Yeah.
package. You want to take the next one?
Yeah, sure. Um, Content creation.
Okay.
So oftentimes that ends up being paired with like social media strategy, brand tune up, like these things are obviously not in a vacuum per se, but content creation, we like conceptualize, shoot, edit, and like deliver like a full from like scratch to finish line.
With the strategy that goes with those videos of
Yeah.
prepped.
And then
And that's fun because for so many artists, I think that like making TikTok content has been so boring and annoying and something and exhausting. And why I like that package is that it's a way that we can say like, let's make sure that it's in line. Again, go back to the start, make sure it's in line with everything that you want to be represented as. And then also, let's shoot it, prep it, have it there for you so that you're not thinking the top of the month, what am I going to post? And have fun on the shoot day of that content, which is fun for us too.
and then we've got social media strategy, which kind of like again, it all folds in in a lot of ways. But there are some people who want help with strategy who already have content done or they don't want to be extra content. So
Okay. Is there, with almost every new client, do we have like a brainstorming moment where you guys sit down and say, this is who it is?
yeah,
How do you jump in now?
That happens in the brand tune-up. We really like to start with that so that there's been so much of our career. I think we've gotten down of, a couple months with an artist and we realize we're not seeing the same thing as you, or you don't actually know what your artist story is. And it seems obvious, but a lot of social media strategy in the early days was more based on like just the posting and not the storytelling. And that's when we came together. We're like, we like telling stories. We're storytellers. How can we use all the stuff that we're making to help people tell their story?
Yeah. And then
Our favorite.
we do also like music video production and direction. So
Why is it your favorite?
well, we're kind of
it's
being a little
funny.
facetious.
Yeah.
I love and hate it at the same time. I love it so much that I want to do it forever, but I will be up until 2 a.m. covered in like plaster.
Yeah.
As in, I have an idea for my music video. You're going to make the set for me. Are you going to bring in the videographers for me? And you're going to film it and edit it for me. That's what I pay for.
Well, not us individually per se, but we'll source the whole team.
Yeah.
We will produce it.
And we'll create the treatment. Like, of course, if there's an artist that has an idea that they want to like collaborate, I think the coming up with the concept and finding the way to tell the story is what excites us. That's definitely something we want to have our hands in, but we like collaborating.
Yeah. So the way that kind of plays out in terms of like packages for all these things, I mean, starting with that music video, since we're on that, if somebody has here's my budget for the music video for this single, here's what I can like do. I really want to have a video. Here are some ideas or some things that I would love to see in that. We'll take that budget, break it down in terms of like what kind of concept we can realistically do with that. If we need to be super scrappy and like run around outside with someone, or if we can like actually like, be in a studio with a gaffer and all of that, putting that together. And then oftentimes the rest of it is like, again, just kind of dependent on the client. Like Fiona was saying, I would say that our most common package that we've been doing recently is like a combination of brand tune up. I mean, kind of a combination of all 4 of the others, but we start with brand tune up and consulting on that for about a month, give or take. And really hone into that messaging. What are those visuals going to be? What is the story? What's the point here? And then create from there.
We also felt like there are clients that really require being monthly salary clients. And I think that there's a place for them. And if somebody has a budget, I think that's great that they have that opportunity. But I think there's a lot of things that you can do on more project-based work. And for us as artists and also as marketers, we wanted this business to be something where we're like, this is a month. This is what we're accomplishing in that month. Come back to us when you want to do something else. Making it more project based gives us the deadline, and actually the deadline becomes more fluid
Yes.
because it's not like, okay, yeah, you paid for August and September, so let's see what we can do. It's like, this is what we're doing. You know, we have a little bit more flexibility, which we like.
That's awesome. I haven't heard the breakdown yet of Cherryland's offerings. That's really, really cool. And just congrats. I'm just really excited about it. Can you break down any Cherryland project that you've worked on, sort of like from start to finish, what they asked and what the deliverables were? Just for everyone to know what that typically looks like.
Yeah, totally.
Um,
A specific project,
You
I
can
should say.
start talking and I'll know what you're.
do you know what this is actually something that I haven't talked to you about, and I'm just gonna casually talk to you about this because I'm excited about it.
Cool.
This is like the first Cherryland project.
Okay.
Those Samantha Margaret videos are performing really well.
They are.
Yeah, that's like a very simple early project we did. It was just a brand tune-up plus content creation. It was one of the early kind of like offerings of us like, okay, is this concept good? Like, is this a good concept? And it proved that it was. And pretty much it just goes into, we have this really cool, I'm actually really proud of the ways in which I think that sometimes people don't understand the brand tune-up package, or maybe there's an ego element where they're like, I know who I am. But when I ask them specific questions like what if you're going to visualize like the world in which your music lives in, explain it to me. And they can't explain any kind of like any visual specific thing about kind of their artist universe. I'm like, okay, we got to do a brand tune-up package. But the fun thing is that it includes like tough conversations and market research. So specifically with our like the Samantha Margaret project, which was one of our earlier ones, it was looking at, okay, who are you as an artist? What is your story? Kind of consulting and doing the weekly meetings. And then it got into how is the best way that we can execute this with content.
And we had a lot of, I think we had 4 meetings before we did any sort of content. I think maybe
More, we weren't thinking about content from the start, and I think that's the difference. We were thinking
Yeah.
about her as an artist.
Yeah. And so as far as like that breakdown, to just kind of like go in a little bit more, like we started with here's what's working, here's what's not working. We're doing some market research. We're sending your Instagram and TikTok around and asking people to describe like what they're getting.
I like
from
that.
this. Yeah. Because more often than not, it's not what the artist thinks that they're putting out, you know? And so things like that, to really kind of almost deconstruct it, whether or not it needs a full deconstruction, I think it's good to unpack all of these things, deconstruct it, and then figure out, okay, what actually feels authentic here and how can we then go in and attach visuals to this and visual references. And then, yeah, and then we had our shoot and edited and then did a couple sessions about the strategy and timeline of the ladder and everything. Boom.
It was just cute because we haven't talked about this. And of course, like there are things within videos, like of course the goal is to have a longer time testing and experimenting with somebody, because no marketer is a magician, and you're not going to do one content shoot and get you a viral video. Like it just doesn't work like that. You're going to do a content shoot and you're going to do best practices and discover your, make sure that all the content you're making is within that artist ethos, and then refine from there. But it was a really cool moment because she was kind of stuck in a TikTok 200, which if you don't know, like
The 200 view jail.
the 200 view jail.
Oh no.
And it was exciting because she started launching the videos and they've been getting the 6 and 7s. And I was like, okay, cool. Like this was exciting for me.
What can you tell me a little bit when we talk about the videos? What was in them? What do you think was latching on?
Well, I think that for this artist in particular, she has a strong sense of self, but it wasn't necessary. Like her problem when she came to us was TikTok feels cringy. I don't understand how to get my personality to come across on TikTok because it doesn't feel like the type of thing that can exist in TikTok. I'm sure you've heard that a million times as well. And for her, you know, one of the things that we kind of talked about with her, she has this very dreamy, mysterious,
Glamorous.
glam, dark glam like vibe, but she likes to be home with her cat and wake up early, and like she doesn't like going out and like all these things. And so it was kind of this funny thing of, well, why don't we, instead of having it have to be, oh, I'm out in Hollywood glam all the time, how do we say, okay, but what would that artist be doing before she's going out? She lives in a home space that's still fabulous. So can we get like
Home space is
fabulous? I know. And so
Yeah, bringing the glam to her home. And there was something that
and like a vintage vibe.
we made these vintage cereal boxes, which Celeste is very good with, like photoshopping everything. I that we both definitely, a great thing about having a partner is like we both have our strong suits. But we made together these like vintage cereal boxes where we did this video where she was kind of like having cereal pushing in on these cereal boxes. And they're so cute. I love those. They're so
Yeah, it is vintage.
And I think I should be able to grab these and show you guys.
Yeah,
And about
absolutely.
for the visual watch.
But she's a great artist. And we've been lucky. We also did a similar thing with Nick Campbell Destroys, who's like an insane bass player, and I've been excited to see like, the things when you're on project base, like Nick, we're gonna work together again, but you're in different cycles. You're in their release cycle, but you still have the like, you're still checking in.
Yeah. As they roll out the videos, you're like, ooh.
Yeah, so you kind of aren't as like, oh, we're always working together and I'm always in your world. You're like, oh, I'm excited about this project. I'm going to do it. Then you're going to roll it out and then we're going to come back together and do something else. It helps us remain excited.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
Love that. Before we move on from Cherryland, I do want to ask, do you guys ever make exceptions for artists with smaller budgets? So I have Heads on TV has a huge fan base of up and comers who are just not in the LA Nashville worlds. Would you take on a client with a much smaller budget? What does that look like?
That's
Yeah.
why project base is great.
Yeah. I think it just depends on the artist and their story, and if somebody's down to put in their side of the work, and I think totally.
I mean, there's always a line. Like, I think for both of us, we have been working in this industry for a really long time. And there's an element of like making sure that we are fairly compensated. And there's area where we're like, you know what? We're excited about this because of X, Y, and Z. And we're down to take a lower rate.
Yep.
And when you're working with somebody who is what Celeste is saying, like, helping out with some areas to make the budget smaller, and also like just being a nice person, you're down.
And I think you can relate. I think the goal is to have enough higher budget stuff where you can subsidize like taking on this smaller projects.
Yeah, it's something I just want to also say on camera. Like, we both have marketing agencies and we very much are always welcome to talk to somebody who's like, my budget is maybe like $500 for the next 3 months. Well, let's talk about what that would look like or what I can help you
What
with.
can I do?
Please don't be afraid. I'm sort of talking to the audience.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to reach out, especially when it's boutique. Like we are, like we
Can I say something though from the start though? If you're gonna reach out and you have a lower budget, that is fine. But before somebody makes a proposal, give them your budget range. Because my only frustration is like, if I don't know and I say like, okay, can I just make a typical proposal for you? And then I maybe give you a proposal for X amount of money and your rate is a tenth of that amount of money, then I'm not making the right proposal for you. Like, I think being transparent is fine. Like, hey, I really like
Transparent as well.
Yeah.
yeah.
Definitely. That's my only note.
Stay open. Ask around. You never know. At what point in independent artists' career do you think that they should start thinking about stretching or saving a budget to hire help? This is always hard to know when you should actually make that leap to bring on people like us for help.
It's a good question because I don't know that there is a one size fits all answer to it. I think that if somebody wants to really like lean in and has a vision, and their artistry has a lot of cool visual identities, and they want to like lean in and have that all make sense, you know, obviously I don't think they should blow their whole budget on it right away, but like I do think that it's like worth exploring that like from an early standpoint. Mind you, if there's somebody who doesn't totally know who they are and just like wants to be experimenting and see what sticks and what works, I think maybe you wait a little bit longer, and then as you start to kind of cultivate more of that identity, then it's time to bring that in.
Can you comfortably pay your rent, buy your groceries, and like not feel stressed? Like, do you have that? Don't hire somebody and stretch your budget where you're getting into debt to hire somebody, because you're not gonna like get the most out of that experience if you're like paying them and unable to pay other bills. I would say like my biggest piece of advice is get a high yield savings account. I like Ally, ALLY. Do a transfer of the amount of money that is like the amount of money you can afford. So it could be $50, it could be $250, it could be $500. Set it on automatic, like a bill, like a phone bill, like a whatever bill, and just have monthly amount of money going into that account.
Love that idea.
When it hits a certain amount, make a list of all the possible things you could spend your money on and organize that by priority.
That's some top
Put it
notch
in,
advice right
I
here.
think, brain dump
Just
everything that you can do and then prioritize it. And then after, sorry, I'm going to get into look at like, once you look at your prioritized list, there might be something on that list that you might not be able to afford. Look at the amount of money you save. Maybe it's a 6-month period. Say, what's one thing I can start with? Don't drain that amount. Maybe you take half of that amount and you say, I'm going to invest it. And the great thing about a high yield savings account is it's going to continue to return on interest your money in a savings account that's easily accessible. That's
great advice. Even if it's not high yield, took me a long time to figure out the high yield game. Just that tip of like,
no, the high yield though, like, why
I'm just saying if you're like super young, if that's not something you can.
but they're free. They're all free accounts.
Fiona's selling me on it.
I mean, there's no reason you should
I
not.
agree with Fiona. There's no reason to not, because it's the same. It's literally like the process is the same as any other savings account.
Yeah.
They have.
By the way, high yield savings just essentially means it's going to be adding interest every single month, not taking it away, but adding it to that sum that you had put into
Yes.
it.
And
And
all
they
the
have higher percentages on the returns than traditional.
and Ally offers. There's other banks.
I like Discover actually,
But
but they're
Discover,
basically
yeah,
this. I mean,
same.
those two are kind of the
Yeah.
same.
They better come over here and sponsor.
I know, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sponsored by Ally.
Well, I have another money question, but for those of you, and forgive me for not even mentioning at the top of this conversation, Fiona's been on the podcast in the past. As Fiona Grey, we talked all about your artist career. Now, Celeste also has a fantastic solo project called Talker, which I have been a fan of for a long time. And I'm going to ask you what I asked Fiona last time, but it's your turn to answer.
Okay.
I want you to share one budget saving tip that you tap into as an independent artist.
One. I'm sorry.
Fiona, did you share one? I remember you shared.
No, I'm saying it.
I know, just one. I mean, learning new skills. And I think that it's inevitable that you're going to learn other skills as an independent artist because you kind of have to. But like, for example, I'm lucky I live in LA. Not everybody necessarily has this particular resource. You would, maybe you have your own, some other category, but like, I know a lot of really great filmmakers, and I got really obsessive about like learning how to like write a treatment for a music video and like work a budget with that. And it's not really that complicated. It's kind of that project management thing that we're talking about, right? It's like, can I be organized and put this together? And so like for me, for my visuals, like I don't spend as much money as like what it looks like I probably spend on those because I'm doing a lot of different jobs on them.
She's like, we're both in the way, but like Celeste especially, like her old enough music video. She was renting a U-Haul, buying the wood, taking the wood to the stage and building these like wood phone booths. Like when you say to yourself, "Oh, well, I can't afford that because I'm la di la la," and you make all these excuses, have you tried? Have you like tried and failed? Like that's the biggest thing. Like it's so inspiring how she'll work up these crazy ideas and then she'll just build them. And then I'm like, oh my God, what is she
Oh, yeah,
doing?
and mind you, there have been some fails. There have been some things that I have.
Speaking of plaster.
I'm gonna need some visuals on that.
But they're always young.
Great
Yeah.
sentiment though.
Yeah,
I
I
love
mean,
that
just
idea.
learning
I mean,
skills where you can where you don't have to outsource.
Yeah.
YouTube too. I mean,
Oh, 100%.
won't-
YouTube can teach you so
it
much.
won't make you like a pro of everything, but to learn, you probably looked up just some plaster tips and all this fun stuff.
Literally.
Like, what
Just
can I?
Google it.
Just Google it.
That's what I say. That's what I say to my mom all the time.
There'll be plenty of time, right? There'll be so much time in your career to hire the experts or to
Yes.
become an expert.
Yes.
But it's not going to happen early on, and you're not going to be able to afford it early on.
Well, and that's to your point about, I, it doesn't happen overnight. And I looked at some, I did look at some plastering YouTube videos for the best product to use and all this stuff. And it wasn't, oh, I looked at this one video and now I know how to do this. It's, oh, I've been over the last few years acquiring these skills where my brain now goes to, oh, well, I know that if I'm going to use that, this is probably the best material to put under it or things like that. And so it is just kind of like a compounded thing. But I think that YouTube is a great place to start. I think that a lot of things in this world and this space you learn by doing.
Also, I think that you can ask questions. I think you have to be respectful of, not overly asking somebody questions in a way that's maybe taking advantage of their asking too many questions in an annoying way. But you're seeing your friend direct a music video, hey, do you have a call sheet template that you really like? Yeah, dude, here it is. Here's the call sheet template. A lot of times your friends might already have those things.
That's a good one too. I mean, literally it's so simple, but asking me for help.
Yeah, I'm gonna that major plus one on that. Are you guys comfortable breaking down? This can be for either of you or answering for a joint project you work on. Just picking something recent you've done and a budget breakdown of what you had to put in to get it done.
So I have had a range of budgets for different projects that I've worked on with Talker stuff, different music videos, different projects working with different producers. Full transparency, there has been a range. But I'm going to talk about my easygoing music video.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, because it was relatively low budget. I mean, it was low budget, but I still spent some money on it because
That's how
ultimately, even if it's low budget, you're well, it's still my money. But
and it's a balance between you can make something low budget, but you're also I'm respecting your time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think I spent $2,000 on that music video.
Okay.
Which is definitely not 500, but it's not 5,000. My focus is always on making sure that people get paid and that the budget is going to people for their time and their worth and their expertise. So when it came to locations, I did not pay for a single location. Here's the asking for help thing. I asked my friend, hey, you have this beautiful large bedroom with these really great big windows. Could that be my bedroom scene? And she was like, yeah, of course. And then I went and I found this really cool park location that was kind of off the beaten path, which again came from asking my friend who does a lot of shoots, and he was like, oh, I do have this in my work, and it was great. And so,
And then our favorite location that we use so much, which is our backyard.
yeah,
We do so much. Yeah.
The Valley Doll House.
The Valley Doll House.
Valley Doll House.
Yeah. And we turned that into a black void. We waited till it was dark to shoot there, and then we just lit it in a way where the background kind of disappears.
Cool.
But so everything that I could have for free, I had for free. I had this moment where there's it was like very Carrie style, like blood pouring down on me with like as I played guitar. And I just posted on Instagram, does anybody have like an old beer guitar like that they're like getting rid of, whatever. And my friend was like, yeah, I've been kind of looking to just like get rid of this like crappy old guitar if you want to like throw me $50 for it. And I was like, great. Things like that.
We
So
made the syrup.
we
that-
made the blood with corn syrup and a little red dye and Hershey's at the Costco, got a jug of Hershey's syrup. So I think there was a lot of DIYing involved, and so everybody got paid their rates. And mind you, they were good, like homey rates, because I live here and have spent years building up a network of like reciprocity as well and working on other people's projects. Um, but so it was like people got paid, and I basically, it was like, how can I DIY and spend as little money on everything else?
That's great. Yeah, and even like I showed up to the video, like we will show up for each other's
Yeah.
videos and things like that, which, that helps both of us. Another interesting thing was the high-low music video. It was a more expensive video. I think I spent like 3,500 on it, so more expensive. Um, but the reason that I spent more was I got social content for the rest of the songs on the album. And I think if you're going to be spending more money, find the creative ways that you can get even more for your money. Second thing, I found the location on Peerspace and then found that company's website and then messaged them personally. Sorry, Peerspace. I won't say, I will not say who it was. They actually asked me, for full transparency, they asked me if if I found them on Peerspace, and I did lie, and I said no, I just was referred to your website. So they covered their self. They did the right thing. But they were a cheaper rate because it wasn't getting Peerspace's fees. So if there's a healthy, ethical way that you can do that,
That's a major tip.
around. Yeah.
yeah,
It's a major tip.
We've been going to do some work.
that we won't talk about.
What would you can each answer this individually, consider your most controversial music industry opinion?
Marketing isn't the devil of the music industry. It's an opportunity. And I think that marketing gets a bad name as being this kind of like, I'm in a relationship with a man who adamantly hates marketing, but he doesn't understand the things that he dislikes about it. There's so many positives of actually like sharing and communicating in a way that is authentic. And I think that marketing can be unauthentic and filling our little internet void in a way that is not awesome. I think there's so many great opportunities for us to have authentic communication through marketing. And I don't think that marketing is a negative thing. As that I can go more controversial too.
Think about it maybe while Celeste answers.
Okay, fine.
My controversial opinion is that I don't think it's ever too soon to start touring. There are a lot of people who will say it's too soon. You don't have a fan base. You don't want to spend all your money. Reach out to the SoFar team and do a solo acoustic tour. Do something.
Can you explain what SoFar is? I just want to say before I came out to LA, I know they're all over the country.
Yeah.
I didn't know what that was, and it's
Yeah.
a wonderful organization.
It's amazing. Yeah. It stands for like Songs from a Room, and it's basically intimate, not always fully acoustic, but stripped down in some way shows. They'll feature 3 artists, people buy tickets, they don't know who's going to be performing. But you're basically guaranteed a room full of people who are genuinely music fans. They're not going because their friend is playing. They want to discover a new artist. They're also the people who are going to be the most likely, in my experience at least, to buy merch because they are excited. They want to support artists. And for me, a lot of my early touring was through SoFar. And, just because you're not playing like your full band stadium style set, if you can get yourself in front of people, so many of my early fans that come to shows now, came from SoFar. And it was financially lucrative because they bought merch and I got paid.
Can I say another? I have another one that I love this.
Yes, I give you permission.
Thank you. It isn't tacky to talk about things that are coming up or your merch at your show. musicians make most of our money from selling merchandise. And a lot of times audiences don't know that you have merch or that you're playing again. Or like what your social handle is.
Yeah.
There's a way to say it that is lame. But
You know what way is not lame to say it?
what?
Buy my merch.
Buy my merch. Buy my merch. But no, I do think that like there was another guest on the podcast who was talking about how they hated talking about that. And I don't think so. Like I think as an audience member, I'm like, oh shoot, you have vinyl? That's great. Like
Yeah.
I want to know that information. Don't feel like it's cringy. Like figure out how to say it in a non-cringy.
Casually.
Say it casually. Maybe bring it up twice because people don't remember. Maybe it's a second to last song. It's okay to talk about. You're not a car salesman, even if you're telling people that you have merch.
Right there is the entire basically how and why I started this podcast is many shows that I went to or I've played in my life. I'm always sitting there like, where's the shirts? Or like, where I want to hear so much more about how can I directly and immediately support you? And I really wanted to start opening these conversations to remind, especially independent artists, do not be shy about getting merch and also being direct on a stage, a live performance or a video. Instead of just like, oh, my streams are down, what do you need people to do? What's helpful? Is it pre-saving? If they're not pre-saving, why is pre-saving helpful? Like really build.
Oh, that's another controversial take. I don't think
pre-saves.
I don't think pre-saves. I hate pre-saves.
Yeah, what is you guys' experience with this
I
lately?
hate
I
pre-saves.
think that pre-saves, honestly, if you have a big enough following that you can get like thousands of pre-saves, cool. But I think that when you're pushing them as like a truly like small independent artist,
Yeah, I think it's cringy.
I think it's
I hate it.
I think that it doesn't actually help. And so it's creating an extra call to action, and people really cannot handle that many calls to action.
Yeah, and it's a call to action. I can't even listen to the song. Like it's a dumb call to action.
I'm gonna share this. I've never shared this on any public platform. I have tried, I think 2 or 3 times, like that I can remember, to go click through and pre-save and have never figured it out.
Yeah, it's dumb.
And I'm in this industry. And I don't understand.
Yeah.
I understand, but I don't understand. So I appreciate.
I would do a whole podcast and just say controversial opinions.
I know.
We could do like a list of the cringiest things.
I almost want to email everyone I've interviewed and say, you can like tell me more of anything else you forgot. I wish I had all day to talk to you too.
Yeah. Should we cancel the next?
Yeah, I think I'll just kick Trevor's next up. No, we've been and Fiona's actually been helping in producing this season, which I can't thank you enough. I just want to say on camera, it's been so fun to have you part of the Heads on TV universe. These two are just so supportive of me. I don't even live in LA right now, and just from having met them, they want to help with marketing what I do and bringing the artists. And these are two of the coolest people. If you have any opportunity,
We do
or
completely
videos
agree.
please. It's been such a pleasure to call you guys friends. It's so much fun.
Thank you for having us. Honestly,
I
just
think
was a blast.
I'm gonna leave everyone with, I want to know your thoughts on the future of the music video. And I'm talking about, you have both talked about paying. Actually, you're great to ask this. You guys have many music videos. Where do you think it's headed? What's the value of it?
Yeah. I'll even jump in.
Yeah, jump in and then I'll jump right back in.
Guys, it's a funny thing because music videos are not like, the music video industry is not what it was, decades ago.
Yeah.
I think that there is a totally valid argument to be made that like you don't necessarily need to have a music video for everything. I don't have a music video for every song. However, when it comes to creating worlds and making it very clear who you are as an artist and delivering audiences that information, it's pretty crucial. And I think that it's like it gives your song a place to live on YouTube. Obviously, there's YouTube music as well, but if people are watching and listening on YouTube, it can live there and you can collect streaming royalties from those plays. Especially if you can go through a distributor that'll help you with a Bebo account because those are higher royalty rates. So I think that it gives the song a place to live there where people are able to see the vision, and it just is like another piece of information of it's something that's part of that greater whole.
Yeah.
And then you can cut it down into a million clips for TikTok. That look
Yeah,
really
use
sick.
use it for other things. People have the attention span of a
Mhm.
small little ant. So we need
I'll post like 10 clips of one
Yeah.
video on TikTok.
what Celeste said earlier, I think, is what I hope music videos are in the future if you are an independent artist. Do not cut the corners of paying people horrible rates that are offensive. Cut the corners and spending 2 to 3 extra days building your own set, coming up with a concept that is attainable, and find your audience. Film all of those moments of you building that set, of you coming up with a concept that you can do that is a simple concept, but don't find ways to cut corners that are going to hurt people's livelihood, because at the end of the day we also have to support creatives. You might not be able to afford to have a full gaff team and an AD. Maybe all you can afford is directing it yourself and hiring a DP. But give that DP a rate, because he's going to be doing other people's jobs. So make sure that you are
Yes.
putting the money into people and finding ways to cut corners if you're an independent artist with the locations and concepts.
Fantastic advice. Advice even in me asking a philosophical. Thank you so much
Thank you,
for being on the My Marriage podcast for the first time and the second time. I think I could easily get you both on again for 10 more crazy wild questions.
Well, we like to chat.
We'll look forward to that. Thank you guys for being on the My Marriage podcast.
Yeah.